Stottlemyre stepping off. There's Bobby Valentine. He is now the winningest manager in the history of the Texas Rangers. And he doesn't even have an over 500 record. Breaking ball low.
Says that they've struggled a little bit during their career here in Texas.
Bobby was telling me today, though, that he honestly feels like they are now headed in the right direction. The biggest problem he has is he doesn't have anybody who's just coming into the prime of their career. He's either got guys that are finishing their careers or youngsters. And that's one reason that they got a guy like Gary Pettis. He's a 30-year-old type. Inside the Bouchel, 3-0 now.
I agree with Bobby to a certain extent. I think the best makeup you can possibly have on a team is have a few guys, veterans that have been around a while, some young guys that show enthusiasm and play the game with enthusiasm, and some middle-of-the-road guys who are just kind of a little bit of both. They're veteran enough to understand how to play the game, but they're young enough that they still have the enthusiasm of young kids to play the game.
When you have as many young players as Bobby does, you look to that leadership and where you're going to find it. A strike called, and it's 3-1. And they're hoping, too, that Pettis can provide some of that for them as well. Dave Oliver with the signs. Three and one out, and Incaviglia the runner at first. Incaviglia is not a speed merchant. He did steal 5 bases last year, which makes you wonder how many of those were the back ends of double steals, because he is not totally adverse to running, but he doesn't run very often. He's running here, swing and a miss. The ball dropped and not foul tip. So it'll be a stolen base for Incaviglia, and the count will go to 3-2 on Bouchel.
Well, it's a perfect hit-and-run situation. The hitter is going to swing if it's a good pitch, and it is right down the middle. But in reaching for the ball, you could see that Myers actually gets it off the edge of his glove, and there you see Incaviglia. He's motoring, but he's not going anywhere. He's lucky that Myers couldn't get his hands on the ball.
Well, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Pete Incaviglia gets the first stolen base of the season for the Rangers.
And Gary Pettis gets thrown out. You're right.
Bouchel with a check swing foul, and the count remains 3-2. But Incaviglia now in scoring position with 1 out.
It was a good pitch by Stottlemyre. He'd thrown him basically fastballs because he was behind in the count, and then he made a real good breaking ball, threw a breaking ball on the outside corner.
That tells you something about the heart of a guy right there. 185 with runners in scoring position. Foul tip. Myers can't hold on, so Bouchel is still alive. Todd's brother Mel Jr. pitching in the minor leagues. Their dad, of course, the pitching coach for the New York Mets. Mel and Gene Stottlemyre are a couple of very proud parents, and with good reason. Myers and Stottlemyre are having a little trouble getting together here. Fake break at second. Ariano was over there, but no throw. Three and two. Got jammed and fouled it out of play, and still a full count.
The best pitches he has made all night has been after he has taking the count to 3-2 to Bouchel here. He's made a good slider. He's made a good pitch on the outside corner with a slider. He's moved the fastball back in off the plate on the hands. He's really moving the ball around well now. And this is the way that he really should pitch all the time, because he can't overpower the hitters. And when you try to overpower him, you get the fastball up. And a lot of these guys in the major leagues make their living off of high fastballs.
So another 3-2 pitch. Grounded third. What a play by Gruber. And they've got Incaviglia hung up between second and third. Liriano tags him out for out number 2.
That's a great play by Gruber, but the great play is made again because he listens to the infielders. He gets help from Tony Fernandez here. You see, he dives and makes the play. Now he wants to get up and fire to first base, but he listens to Fernandez. You can see he heard something in his ear, and he looks over and he's got Incaviglia hung up, because if he would have thrown to first, Incaviglia would have gone over to third very easily. So that's how you help each other on the infield. Tony Fernandez was yelling at him, take the runner coming in, and that's what he did. Great play by Gruber.
And your first thought, of course, when you dive and stab one like this is to get up and throw. Here's Jeff Kunkel. Breaking ball in the dirt, but not far enough away to let Buechele move on down to second. Good job by Myers of keeping it close.
If they're scoring it properly, it should be a fielder's choice, because they did retire. They retired Incaviglia.
It's got to be a fielder's choice. One ball to count to Kunkel with Buechele at first and 2 out. Foul tip held on to by Myers. 1-1. Myers gave up a 2-run home run to Harold Baines in the first, trying to get out of some second. Helped him out. Hard to blame Pete, though, because it's just a great play by Cooper.
It was a greater play than you realize. This angle will show you how great a play it was. That's a smash, and he dives backwards, not across. Now he comes up, Tony Fernandez yells, and you can see the pitcher pointing, and they take Incaviglia. Nice play by Gruber, but like you say, you can't really blame Incaviglia except he went a little too far. If the ball gets by Gruber, it's down the corner, and truthfully, and he can trot home. It's a double for Gruber, and he'll be able to go home easily. So when the ball's hit on the third base side of the third baseman, you wait and let it go through. It's tougher to get by when it's on the inside of the bag.
Fouled off. 2-2 now to Kunkel.
What I'm saying is it's a tougher decision to make if the ball's hit between shortstop and the third baseman, because then you have to hustle to score on a single. But if the ball's hit down the line, it's going to be an automatic double, so you can, almost trot home. So when the ball's hit to the third baseman's right, you have plenty of time to wait and make sure it goes through.
Kunkel made a fine play of his own with a leaping grab of a line drive to end the previous inning. Too high. And it's 3-2 with 2 out. So first baseman Fred McGriff will move behind the runner at first, Steve Buechele. And Buechele will be running with the pitch. And it's ball 4. So runners at first and second. Stottlemyre looking at a lot of base runners here in the first 2 innings, as walk 2 now.
Center fielder
giving up 3 hits. And with 2 out, back to the top of the order, and Gary Pettis, who doubled with a blooper to right, will lead off the bottom of the first. He doesn't care if it's a blooper, does he?
No, he doesn't. And it won't look like a blooper in the paper tomorrow.
This one he skies to left field. George Bell was playing shallow. He goes back and makes the catch just on the warning track to end the inning.
Welcome back to baseball tonight. Elsewhere in the American League, Seattle and California. Brian Holman, they picked him up as part of that trade with the Expos, did Seattle. But Johnny Ray at the plate picks it up off the shoe tops. This is a home run, a solo shot. It's 1-0 in the second. California up. Back to Steve and Joe.
Number 2, second baseman Nelson.
Thanks, John. Here it's
Liriano.
2-0. Texas over Toronto as we go to the top half of the third inning. And Nelson Liriano will lead it off for the Blue Jays, batting for the first time tonight. It'll be Liriano, Junior Felix, the ninth place hitter, and then Tony Fernandez at the top of the order. Beautiful breaking ball from Ryan for strike one.
Steve, the reason I said in the beginning was that Nolan Ryan would cherish 300 wins more than he would 5,000 strikeouts is I think Nolan Ryan needs to win 300 ball games so that people will think of him as a winner rather than just a strikeout artist. You know, pitchers think of themselves as winners first, and then all the other stats just seem to happen. And I think that's important for Nolan now.
3 straight curveballs. This one grounded to short. Kunkel throws out Liriano for out number 1.
I think 300 wins is really important to Nolan Ryan because he has 289 victories, but he has 263 losses, and that's over 23 seasons. So that's really just, you know, that's 26 games over 500. That's like a little over 1 game over 500 per season. And he needs 300 wins so people will say, well, he was a winner rather than just a strikeout artist. So I think that's going to be very, very important to him. And I think he realizes that as much as I am saying it.
I think it's an excellent point, Joe, because that's been the real rap against Nolan. His detractors have always said, well, look at his record.
Right.
Junior Felix, the hitter, and that is his given first name, as a matter of fact. It's not a nickname. His given first name is Junior. The 258 last year with 18 stolen bases and strike one. Fastball fouled back for strike 2.
And we should also be fair to Nolan in that some of the teams he played for were way below 500. So that reflects on his record. Sure. It reflects on the fact that he's only 26 games over 500 in his career.
Boy, where was that? That was a beautiful breaking ball. It just did miss. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
And you can see Nolan asking where was it. And he doesn't do that very often. I think if you watch Nolan Ryan, he just pitches. He does not do a lot of extra things on the mound. He doesn't go through a lot of gyrations out there. He just makes sure that he pitches and does his job. Very rarely will he question an umpire. But you can see he questions that one.
Wow. That's my best Uncle Charlie right there. Fastball foul back again. Still 2-2 for Felix.
But you can see the difference, as I mentioned, a guy that lays his bat on the ball. I can see why Liriano broke up his no-hitter that time. You can see just trying to put the bat on the ball. And that's the way to hit a guy like Nolan Ryan. You can't swing harder because he throws hard.
There's the curveball.
I think Junior's going to see a lot of those because he broke up his no-hitter off a fastball last year, and I think he's going to see a lot of breaking balls today. One of the reasons that Nolan Ryan can throw so hard is you can see he gets all his legs and everything into the pitch. Takes a lot of the strain off of his arm. He does not pitch with his arm. He pitches with the lower part of his body, and you can see it's very strong.
3rd strikeout for Nolan, and here's the top of the order, Tony Fernandez, who flied out to Incaviglia in left center in the 1st. And a curveball for a strike.
And Tony Fernandez is questioning Jim Evans. He thought that pitch was low.
Fastball grounded to 1st. Palmeiro stays with it, and the inning is over. Ryan retires. The Blue Jays in order for the 2nd time in 3 innings. They've had only 1 base runner on the lone walk he has allowed, and Texas leads 2-0. Welcome back to Arlington, Texas. Steve Zabriskie and Hall of Famer Joe Morgan with you tonight. 3rd and final leg of our opening day triple header here on ESPN this evening. 2-0 Texas as we go to the bottom half of the 3rd inning. And Rafael Palmeiro, who walked and scored on Harold Bain's home run in the 1st inning, leads it off. A high, deep drive to right. Junior Felix back on the track, off the top of the wall. Mookie Wilson backing up. Palmeiro heading for third, and he will make it easily.
Steve, that's why I say this is a good hitter's ballpark. He doesn't get all of this ball, but it goes off the top of the 380 sign in right center. There you see Felix gave it a good try. Here he is back to the wall, and he barely misses coming down with it. He actually should have gone back to the wall, felt for the wall, and then jumped, but actually I don't think he could have gotten there anyway. The ball's only about 2.5 feet from the top.
So Palmeiro at third with nobody out for Harold Baines, who hit the 2-run home run and has accounted for all the scoring in the game. Todd Stottlemyre right back in trouble again.
And the middle of this lineup will cause him trouble because there are left-handed hitters there. And he does have more trouble with left-handers than he does right-handers.
Baines hits it on the ground to short. Fernandez will go to first. In the meanwhile, Palmeiro scores, and Texas leads 3-0. An RBI, the third of the game for Harold Baines.
Well, that's a good pitch by Stottlemyre. He gets Baines to reach for a pitch that's going down and away, and he hits it off the end of the bat. It's going to be almost impossible to keep the runner from scoring with no one out in the middle of the lineup up. So you'd rather get the first guy out, give up the run, and now try to hold that, let that be the only run scoring this inning.
Ruben Sierra grounded to second in the first inning. High fastball, ball one.
I said it was going to be tough to keep the runner from scoring because the middle of this lineup chews up RBI. These guys, they just love to see those runners in scoring position. Baines, Sierra, and Franco. That's as good a combination as you're going to find anywhere. Those 3, 4, 5 hitters.
You're talking about close to 300 RBIs last year between them.
Yeah, you may find a team that may have more pop in that, or in that area, more home runs. But as far as putting up runners in scoring position, those 3 are the things you're going to find.
2-0 pitch fouled off out of play down the left field line, and it's 2-1.
And the reason they're all so good is because they're all hitters. They're not just swingers. You have a guy like Baines who is a 300 hitter. You have Sierra, a 300 hitter, and you have Franco, a 300 hitter. Those are the kind of guys that are really pesky when you get runners in scoring position because they put the ball in play.
Yeah, they get those singles and doubles that also drive in a lot of runs, not just the long home run. Well, Sierra, a lot of people felt last year should have been the American League MVP. He certainly had a great year, but didn't get enough votes.
Well, I think he was hurt a little bit because he plays here in Texas, although Robin Yount, who won, and then Milwaukee, neither one of them are media capital.
No, but Yount has been around longer, and that helped him. Mookie Wilson a long way in, but the ball had plenty of hang time. Out number 2.
There you see Mookie
Second
Wilson.
baseman,
A
Julio
real good addition
Franco.
for Toronto last year, coming over from the New York Mets. And he really helped them to win the American League Eastern Division title. Hit over 300 and played good center field for them.
There's another guy who hit over 300, Julio Franco, 316 last year. Franco flied to shallow left to end the first inning. Curveball for strike 1.
Even though he's giving up a run this inning, all of a sudden he's starting to get the ball down, and that's important for Stottlemyre. He got Baines on a low pitch away, and he also got Sierra on the low pitch. Now he goes back upstairs as soon as I say that. He threw Franco a good low breaking ball. Now he comes back with a high fastball.
1-1. 2 out, nobody on, and a run in here in the third for Texas. They drive to left for a base hit. George Bell over to cut it off, and in doing so, he will hold Julio Franco to a single.
It's one of the problems that we're going to see with pitchers early in the season. They do not have as much consistency as they'd like. One pitch down, one pitch up. And we're going to look at it here. This is a fastball that's up and in, and Franco just turns on it. Because they did not have a complete spring training, their rhythm and consistency will be off. You know, they'll get their rhythm and throw one pitch where they want. The next pitch is not going to be where they want because they just have not had time to get in the groove. I think we're seeing that with Stottlemyre. He's making some good pitches, but he's making some poor pitches to follow that.
And that will be the case around the league.
For, I believe, at least for the first month.
Yep.
There will always be some guys who are ahead of the game and who are doing better than the average, but on the average, I think that is what you will see.
Gino Petrale grounded to first his first time out. 2 out with Franco at first as Stottlemyre steps off.
But I think what we see in Stottlemyre is that with a few more innings under his belt, he's going to be a very good pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays this year.
Throw to first, even though Franco wasn't very far off. Franco had 21 stolen bases last year. Only caught 3 times.
I think your caught stealings are more important than the number you steal.
Way high and away.
If you steal 21 bases and get caught 21 times, really it's kind of a wash. There you see him giving the signals to Petrale and also to Franco over at first. But a good base stealer will steal over 75 to 80% of his attempts.
And Franco is going, the ball taken inside for a ball, and Franco. Second stolen base for the Rangers in 3 attempts tonight. Franco's first of the year, and he's at second with 2 out.
Franco gets a pretty good jump at first base, and it's a straight steal all the way because he does not look back to see if Petrale hits the ball or not. He just takes off and steals the bag, so that's a straight steal.
And a good count with 2 balls and no strikes because it eliminates the possibility of a pitch out, and hitter can afford to take a pitch.
I think a good base stealer doesn't worry about the pitch outs. If he thinks that he can steal the base, he takes off. If they pitch out, he's still going to be safe most of the time.
So it's 3 balls and no strikes to Petrale, and he swings away on the 3-0 pitch and fouls it off. It's 3-1. Stottlemyre has not been in the big leagues very long, 1 full season and part of another, but April has always been a tough month. He has not won a game in the month of April, and his ERA is close to 6 in the month of April. And he's getting a visit right now from Cito Gaston.
And I think what Cito wants to tell him is he didn't like that last pitch. The count was 3 balls and no strikes, and he gave Petrale a fastball down the middle, and he's lucky Petrale didn't do anything with it. But he looks over and says, hey, Incavilla, a right-handed hitter, is on deck, and you have a better chance of pitching to him because, you know, he has more trouble with left-handers anyway. So he's saying to him, if he goes for this pitch, make it be a pitch that he can't do much with. If he wants to chase it, let him chase it. If not, pitch to Incavilla. And you see Gaston going back to the dugout after he's made the statement. Here's the pitch. It's a fastball right down the middle, inside part of the plate. And you can see Petrale is upset because he missed it.
Anytime you see a hitter turn away like that, he is talking to himself.
He said, I got the pitch I wanted and didn't do anything with it. And Gaston wants to make sure he doesn't get that pitch again.
It's 3-1 now.
It doesn't mean you don't throw him, you do not throw him a fastball. It just means that you do not get it in his hitting zone.
And that was close to his ear rather than his hitting zone.
That was not in his hitting zone.
So ball 4, the 3rd walk issued by Stottlemyre, and runners at first and second with 2 out.
Well, Stottlemyre was determined that he was not going to make a mistake and get the pitch, in the middle of the plate. So he says, I'll go ahead and walk him. If he wants to swing at that, let him swing at it. Plus, that serves a purpose.
It certainly does. He's probably thinking, hey, Nolan Ryan gets him to swing at that pitch. Why won't they swing at mine? Incavilla swung at the first pitch and drove a base hit up the middle his first time out, and he takes strike 1, and he didn't think it was anywhere near the strike zone. Chased the breaking ball out of the strike zone, and it's 0-2.
And you'll see why they prefer to pitch to Incavilla in this situation rather than Petrale. You see him swing at a pitch that's not even close to the strike zone. And so that's what I like about Cito Gaston. He didn't go out and yell at Stottlemyre or anything like that, but he went out and made a statement. Hey, you made a mistake. Don't let it happen again.
High with a fastball, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Stottlemyre has faced 15 hitters now so far in the ball game. 9 of those 15 have reached base in one way or another. So he's been on the stretch a lot. That one's high and inside, and it's 2-2.
My point with Gaston was this. A lot of managers send their pitching coach out there to tell the guy, hey, you made a mistake. Gaston wanted to do it himself. That's what I like about him. He doesn't send his coaches to do jobs a lot of times in the clubhouse. He'll call the player in and go one-on-one with him. And the players appreciate that.
And Cito, as we mentioned before, has always been close to the players. Breaking ball lofted to center field. Mookie Wilson comes on, and the inning is over. But a run in on a couple of hits and a walk and a stolen base here in the third for Texas. After 3, the Rangers lead it 3-0. From a rookie with the Mets in 1966 to record-breaking performances with the Angels and Astros, Nolan Ryan has amassed 5 career no-hitters.
He got it. Nolan Ryan. No-hitter number 5.
Last year, his first as a Ranger, another milestone was reached: 5,000 career strikeouts. Nolan Ryan, 43, can still bring the heat. And he's been bringing the heat tonight. Nolan, with that 90-mile-an-hour plus heater at the age of 43, continues to amaze. He has allowed just 1 base runner on a walk in the second inning and leads 3-0 as we go to the 4th. And Mookie Wilson thinks about a bunt and takes a strike.
For a guy that's 20 years old, that's a pretty good average fastball there. The average about 93 and a high of 95. So that's pretty good for a 23-year-old, let alone a 43-year-old.
Ryan has shown that he doesn't lose that velocity as the innings go on. Fastball right by Wilson, 0-2. Mookie grounded to third his first time up. Fouled off, still 0-2. You saw Gino Petralli move way outside that time. He wanted that pitch off the plate completely, but it was reachable for Wilson, and he fouled it off.
That's why I say he pitches. He doesn't just throw. And you mentioned the fact he's walked 1 guy, but that 1 guy he walked led the league in home runs last year, so there may have been a purpose behind that.
Another fastball away, fouled off. Still 0-2. Breaking ball right back to Ryan. 1 out in the 4th.
Pitcher cannot forget that once he releases the ball, he becomes a fielder. And all the good pitchers will be good fielders. I mean, that's just part of the makeup of a good pitcher. And you watch Nolan Ryan here. He's in good fielding position after he releases the baseball. Right there.
I got it, he says. Kelly Gruber goes after a fastball and fouls it back for strike 1. Gruber fouled out to the third baseman, Steve Buechele, to end the first inning.
Kelly Gruber, along with George Bell, has really become the leaders of this ball club in Toronto. He's a guy that plays hard and leads by example.
He will also speak out when moved upon. He's not shy about voicing his opinion.
Yeah, but that's what a leader's all about. On occasion, there's times to open your mouth and say things. I remember last year he was upset at the Oakland A's about the way that they were trotting around the bases when they were beating the Blue Jays in the playoffs.
Did he go too far on the breaking ball? No. Dale Ford, the first base umpire, says he did not.
Although, and we'll get a look at him checking his swing here. Close call.
Well played by Buechele, and he gets it.
That's tit for tat there. He says, you took the grounder away from me, I'll take one away from you. They traded great plays at third base. Nice play by Buechele. He comes up and fires a strike to first base.
It was Gruber who took a base hit away from Buechele in the second inning.
Yes.
And got Incaviglia in the rundown, and so Buechele returns the favor here in the fourth. George Bell batting with 2 out and nobody on, and he takes high ball 1.
And take my word for it, that is a great deal of satisfaction when a guy takes a hit away from you and you can return the favor in the same ball game.
That's what brought the smile to his face. Bell with a ground ball foul outside the third base bag, and the count 1-1. George has not particularly liked to hit against the Texas Rangers. Last year he batted just .174 against the Rangers. He had 1 home run and only 4 RBIs. That was in 46 at bats. So,
well, you have to look at what the Texas Rangers throw at you. They throw Nolan Ryan, who can get your balance and your timing completely off, and then they have a guy named Charlie Huck who can do the same thing with opposite type pitches.
At Buechele again, and the inning is over. Ryan again retires the Blue Jays in order. Middle of the fourth, still 3-0 Texas.
Let's check around the scoreboard in the National League. Some of these games played this afternoon. Meanwhile, tonight, Philadelphia and Chicago, it's rain. The Reds and the Astros. Eric Anthony had to leave the game with a slightly pulled hamstring, and Joe McGrain of the Cardinals has a shutout into the 5th against the Expos. Let's get it back to Steve and Joe in Texas.
Thanks, John. It's 3-0 in the middle of the fourth inning. Texas leading Toronto as the Rangers come up to bat here in the bottom of the inning. It's the bottom of the order. Steve Buechele, the 8th place hitter, will lead it off against Todd Stottlemyre, Jeff Kunkel, and Gary Pettis to follow. And Buechele with a couple of good defensive plays. 0 for 1, reaching on the fielder's choice, but really robbed of what could have been an extra base hit and an RBI by Gruber's great play in the second. Holds up on the ball down low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fastball fouled off. 1-2. Todd Stottlemyre has had runners on and given up base hits in each of the first 3 innings. Good pitch there. And Stottlemyre picks up his first strikeout as the first out here in the fourth.
Shortstop, Jeff Kunkel.
He gets ahead in the count, and then he throws a high fastball, and Buechele chases it. See, that's way out of the strike zone. That's a good pitch with 2 strikes, but it's a bad pitch with no strikes.
Jeff Kunkel walked in the second. And he takes the breaking ball for strike 1.
Steve, you know, I played in the major leagues for 20-something years, and over those years, a lot of kids came up to me and said, I'm going to make it to the major leagues and play like you did. And I was at my mother's house one night, and Gary Pettis was there to visit my sister Patricia, and he talked about, he said, Joe, I'm going to make it to the major leagues. He was only like 16 years old at the time. He said, I want to play in the major leagues, and I'm going to make it there before you get out of baseball. And, you know, I said, good and good luck. And you think about it when a guy tells you that, and you say, well, sure, you're going to make it. And sure enough, 1984, my last year in Oakland, we were playing in California, the Angels, and this kid comes running up to me, and he says, hi, Joe. And then I tried to remember. I didn't remember right away, but we started talking. Then I remember he said, "I told you I'd make it here before you left." And I was really thrilled, and obviously I'm even more thrilled because he's become such a great center fielder and become a good player. And he's a very good kid. And I just thought I'd tell you that story because I found it very interesting. Because over the years I've had so many kids say they want to grow up and play in the major leagues, and here's one that really made it. So good kid, and he's from the Bay Area in Oakland.
But the big question is, whatever happened to he and Patricia?
Oh, they were just friends. He just came over to visit. They were friends.
Swing and a miss. Stottlemyre with 2 strikeouts here in the 4th inning.
Center fielder Gary
Maybe Stottlemyre
Pettis.
is getting his feet on the ground now because he's making some pretty good pitches. And that's a good curveball, drops down. So he's gotten one hitter out with the high fastball out of the strike zone, and that curveball broke out of the strike zone. Nice pitch. Those are good 2-strike pitches. The hitter would not chase them if he was not ahead in the count.
And that could be the difference, too, is that now Stottlemyre's getting ahead instead of falling behind. Although he falls behind Pettis here with 2 out and nobody on. Arlington Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Steve Zabriskie and Joe Morgan here with you on ESPN's primetime baseball tonight. The Rangers leading 3-0. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. 1-1 to Gary Pettis, who has doubled to right and fly deep to left. Oh, he came up to bunt, and it looked like it hit him right on the kneecap.
It did hit him. It hit him on the left leg.
And anytime you see a guy who can run like Gary Pettis can run, 43 stolen bases last year, you get a little concerned when the ball hits those legs.
First baseman Rafael Palmeiro.
You can see actually it hits him close to the foot. He got his knee out of the way. It hits him close to his left foot. Yeah, right on the left foot. When I first came to the major leagues, Maury Wills would steal all those bases. And pitchers would get mad and they'd throw at his legs.
I think I know one of them.
Yes.
Were his initials BG?
I'm sure he did.
Rafael Palmeiro has walked and scored and tripled and scored, and Pettis draws a throw at first. Pettis at first with 2 out, and the Rangers leading by 3 is a threat to be running.
Well, especially after he'd been hit.
Yes.
You're always aware that, well, I'll make him pay if he wants to hit me. I don't think Stottlemyre was throwing at him, though.
Pettis not running, and the pitch a strike on the inside corner to Palmeiro. 0-1.
One advantage that Pettis will enjoy here in Texas with Palmeiro hitting behind him is that with a guy at first base, it's tough for the catcher to see him and to see him going. So if you're a base stealer, you always like a left-handed hitter hitting behind you.
Grounded foul outside first, 1-1.
It does not give the catcher a clear view of you at first base, nor does it give him a free throw to second base because the hitter's on his right shoulder, so that keeps him from just stepping straight out and making an accurate throw.
And the blockage of his view is one reason why if you're at the ballpark and the runner goes with the left-handed hitter, you'll hear players yell, there he goes, or he's going.
You have to let the catcher know that he's running.
He's chased back again. And in case you didn't get the hint, the guy we were talking about, the initials BG, is our own Bob Gibson.
Right.
Who had been known to put one close to a hitter once in a while.
Bob told me, and I believe Bob. Bob said he never threw at a hitter. He said sometimes they couldn't get out of the way, but he actually never threw at them. And I said, I believe you, Bob.
You would have especially said that if you and he were both playing at the time. Stottlemyre working Pettis over pretty good at first base. The count remains no balls, 2 strikes.
I did see a couple of my teammates that could not get out of the way, but I'm sure again Bob was not throwing at them.
It's hard to get out of the way when the ball's thrown behind you. There goes Pettis on a pitch out. The throw way high, and Pettis is in there.
That's the mark of a good base stealer because he didn't really care that there was a pitch out, and as I said, a good base stealer is still going to make it. All a pitch out does is give the catcher a chance to move up maybe a half a step. But if you're a good base stealer, you're going to be safe by more than half a step 90% of the time anyway. So you can see there's still no play. The catcher also has to rush his throw when he comes out of there. As a base stealer, I always wanted him to pitch out on me, because if he didn't get me, it really made the pitcher upset because he's way to the pitch. And it also put pressure on the catcher to make a good throw, because if he pitches out and doesn't get you, he's the one that looks bad.
Now it's high, and it's 2-2. And having the left-handed hitter, as you mentioned, Joe, could have come into play there, because it's more difficult, as you said, to really step out and get that throw on.
And especially step to your left and then throw back a little bit to your right. And
Wells and Wills in the bullpen for Toronto.
Wells and Wills.
Down low, Palmeiro lays off, and it's 3-2 with 2 out, and Pettis at second. The Rangers have stolen 3 bases tonight in 4 attempts.
And this is a dangerous pitcher for Stottlemyre. He doesn't want to give in to Palmeiro, but also he doesn't want to pitch to Harold Baines with runners at first and second. So he has to make a good pitch here.
But he doesn't. That is walk number 4, issued by Stottlemyre. Runners at first and second.
I don't see any movement from the Toronto dugout, but there comes Cito now. I didn't think he would let him pitch to Harold Baines, because the ball game would get out of hand here if Harold Baines drives one in the gap.
And the other factor too, Joe, as we talked about earlier, is the pitch limit of 75. Stottlemyre's thrown a lot of pitches already. We don't know exactly how many, but he's got to be there.
And he's also gotten a lot of work in. He's gone 3+ innings, almost 4 innings. And so he has been able to get his work in tonight. And I see Cito's asking him if he feels okay and how to, maybe he has decided to take him out. Or maybe he's just giving him some more time to get loose in the bullpen.
Well, he may be making Jim Evans come out and get him, because he wants to be sure that, I'm assuming that David Wells, the left-hander, would come in to face Harold Baines, and here comes Jim Evans now.
Yes, he's making a call for Wells.
So he was going to get every minute he could. So while David Wells comes into the game to face Harold Baines, we'll take this time out.
As the Blue Jays make a pitching change in Texas, let's check the rest of the American League. The biggest day of the day, Sam Horn, 4 for 5 with 2 3-run home runs for the Orioles as they beat Kansas City. Johnny Ray has a home run and an RBI and a sacrifice fly as Seattle is down to California. Let's get it back to Steve and Joe.
Thanks, John. And here is the left-hander to face the left-hander.
Well, David Wells was 7 and 4, as you can see, and 2.40 earned run average. Pretty good season. And there's the telltale point, 66 hits in 86 innings. It's pretty good, and 78 strikeouts to only 28 bases on balls.
And Baines takes a strike. Stottlemyre goes 3 2/3, and he delivered 81 pitches by our count, so he exceeded his 75 pitch target as we anticipated he did. Runners at first and second with 2 out, and Baines with a big rip, but no contact. And it's strike 2.
That's a good pitch from a left-hander to another left-hander. He threw a fastball down and away for the first pitch, then he comes inside and up with a fastball. Perfect spot to pitch a left-handed hitter.
Pettis at second, Palmeiro at first with 2 out. And the Rangers already leading 3-0. Baines takes high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Baines with a 2-run homer his first time up, and then he drove in the 3rd run of the game with Palmeiro at third in the 3rd with a ground out to short.
You could see Baines pushing his hands down. That meant make him bring the ball down. He's saying that to himself. Stay off the high fastball. That's a very tough pitch for a left-hander to handle against another left-hander.
But he swings at it and laces it to left. George Bell right there, and the inning is over. A hit batter and a walk, 2 left here in the 4th inning. No runs across, but Texas still leads Toronto 3-0.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. For worldwide reservations, call 1-800-4CARS. And by Natural Light from Anheuser-Busch, where there's good food and good times, it's only natural.
Fred McGriff leads off the top of the 5th inning for the Blue Jays. Texas leading 3-0. Nolan Ryan with a ball outside on a breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike to McGriff, who walked and stole second in the second. He is the only base runner that Nolan Ryan has allowed through the first 4.
And Nolan has retired 8 in a row. Back to him.
That breaking ball high, and the count 2-1. We could go right back to how many pitches he's thrown in his career.
Good changeup from Nolan. See, he's showing more respect to Fred McGriff than any other hitter in the Blue Jay lineup. I think that's why he ended up walking him in the first inning. He was behind here with a 2-1 count, and he came with the changeup. And in most cases, you know, Nolan Ryan will come with the fastball. Like that.
And that was that high heat fouled back, and it's still 2-2. Most pitches last year. Now,
and he's pitched for 22 years. So.
All those other guys are in their 20s
Yeah.
too. And Ryan was second in the most pitches delivered last year.
So he's probably thrown about 80,000 in his career or more.
That one squirted away, and it's a full count to McGriff leading off the 5th.
And probably not one of them under 80 miles an hour.
No, that's right. And changeup's about 85. Fastball low, and he walks McGriff for the 2nd time.
And again, it's out of respect, not because Nolan is wild.
Wind has picked up a little bit.
There you see the flags are straight out to left field. But that could be a little deceiving because of the configuration of the ballpark. It could be pushing and coming back around and swirling because of the high wall behind the left field stand. So you can't really tell that the ball is going, you know, the wind is blowing out the left field, even though that's the way it looks like on the screen.
So here's John Olerud, the rookie designated hitter, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Olerud struck out swinging in the 2nd.
And even though the temperature is dropping a little bit, I don't think it'll have any effect on Nolan. He's loose now.
The thermometer here in the stadium, which I don't think is a real thermometer, I think they programmed that thing and just put it up. It's the same temperature it was when the game started, but it certainly feels cool.
It's definitely cooler now than it was at the beginning.
Down low, 1-1.
I can also sense that Nolan is starting to tire a little bit because he's going more to the fastball that's sinking rather than his riding fastball. He still throws the hard riding one when he wants to, but he's using the sinking fastball a little more and more changeup. So I think that's a sign that maybe he's starting to feel it a little bit. Although you can't tell about that pitch.
I'm telling you. He gathered himself a little bit, and he brought it right on up there.
Right. He can reach back when he wants, but he's also trying to feel a little more. There you see, he's taking a few more deep breaths on the mound than he was before as well. I think that if it was not for the fact that, you know, he's pitching a shutout, they do not have any hits yet, he may be out of the ball game by now.
That pitch was awfully close, and it's 2-2.
So that's the thing I'm impressed with Olerud. I've watched him, and he's taken a lot of pitches just off the plate. It doesn't matter whether it's 2 strikes or 1 strike. That pitch is low. That's a good eye from Olerud. And he takes the pitch just off the plate. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 strike or 2. He feels like he's supposed to take it if it's not in the strike zone. And that's the sign of a good hitter.
2-2 now. Fouled away. McGriff at first with nobody out. We're in the 5th inning.
You know, I laugh a lot of times because I hear people say, well, that pitch was too close to take. So I don't believe in that. As a guy that walked a lot and took a lot of pitches, I believe that it's either a ball or it's a strike. There's no such thing as a close pitch. Either it's over the plate in the strike zone or it's out of the strike zone. So it's either a ball or a strike. No such thing as a close pitch.
Lined into right field. Ruben Sierra right there, and they're going to double up Fred McGriff easily. McGriff did not know where the ball was. He got decoyed, and hung up near second base, making no attempt to come back. It's a double play and 2 out here in the 5th. Let's go to John Saunders in our Baseball Tonight studio.
Well, Steve and Joe, in Houston, Texas, the Reds and the Astros. Mike Scott delivers to Mariano Duncan, who already had a home run. This single scores O'Neill. 4-4 now is the score in the 6th inning. The Astros and the Reds. Let's get it back to Texas.
Thanks, John. Here, the double play wipes out the leadoff walk.
I think that's because of the shortened spring training right there. I think what happens is you have to run the bases a lot to run by instinct. And obviously, because of the short spring training, McGriff probably was not on base nearly as many times as he would like. And I think it was more or less he forgot how many outs it was. I don't think that he didn't find the ball or whatever. I think it was a lack of concentration, and he did not know that there was no one out, because that ball was never a base hit as far as I was concerned. It was always going to be caught by Ruben Sierra in right field.
Well, for whatever reason, the base running mistake really changed the complexity of the inning. And Greg Myers takes outside, and the count to Myers is 3 balls and no strikes.
And you see, Nolan, the ball is really moving now. That means that he's taken a little bit off and he's letting it move. He knows what he's doing, but I still think it's because he's tiring a little bit.
This will probably be his last inning.
Well, I doubt that.
Really?
You do not. I don't care. Bobby Valentine likes his job here. He will not take Nolan Ryan out with a no-hitter in the 5th inning in front of his home crowd.
You talk about Cito Gaston's dilemma.
Right. That is.
Bobby's got a dilemma of his own here.
I don't believe you do that. I believe that he will let Nolan take himself out. He may ask Nolan, but I don't think the decision will be made by Bobby Valentine. I think it will be made by maybe Nolan Ryan and Bobby Valentine. And I think that's fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Bobby has to say to Nolan, have you had enough yet?
Popped up out of play. Ryan has battled back from 3-0, and it's 3-2 to Greg Myers. 2 out, nobody on.
And also on that same note, I think Nolan Ryan has earned the right over 20 years of pitching and doing a great job and taking the ball all the time to decide whether he's had enough or not.
No, I'm sure Bobby Valentine lets him decide that even when he doesn't have what he has going tonight. He loses Myers, however. Has walked 3 now, and Myers will be at first with 2 out for Nelson Liriano.
And again, that was a close pitch, if you want to call it such, because it was not way out of the strike zone. But again, Nolan Ryan, as I've alluded to the entire ballgame, he is not wild, even though he walks a few guys. He is always trying to make a pitch.
And it was April of last year that Nelson Liriano broke up Ryan's bid for his 6th career no-hitter. Swing and a miss. Another breaking ball, Joe. As you said, you don't expect Liriano to see many fastballs.
The only fastball he will see will be about eye high, and if he wants to swing at it, okay. He will not throw him fastballs in the strike zone to try to get him out. Change up.
1 ball, 1 strike. Myers at first is not being held on by Palmeiro. Another off-speed pitch. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Now I think we'll find out for sure if Nolan is tiring a little bit, because Nolan Ryan would, even though he's tried to throw him off-speed pitches, if he gets in this position, he would come after him with the fastball.
He does.
And he does.
And it's fouled off. Ryan's last spring training outing was actually a simulated game, and in that game he threw 120 pitches. So he's capable of going this far, at least based on what he did in his last outing in the spring. Another close one, and it's 3-2 to Liriano with 2 out.
And he's up to 79 pitches now. So he still has a ways to go.
He's thrown more of those pitches, more pitches rather, in this inning than any previous inning tonight, however. There goes the runner on 3-2 with 2 out as Myers takes off, but the ball is fouled off. So Myers will go back to first.
This brings back the point I was making earlier in the ballgame. The wins are more important than anything else. And even though he wanted to get Liriano out with an off-speed pitch, and he has a no-hitter, the important thing is winning the ballgame. So on a 3-2 count, he says, hey, here it is. If you get a base hit, you get a base hit, but I'm not going to walk you and bring up the tying run to the plate. So that's what I'm saying all the time. Nolan Ryan is thinking pitch to win, not pitch to strike out of 5,000 guys or whatever that is. He's pitching to win.
Down low, ball 4. Third walk of the inning. Runners at first and second with 2 out.
And Nolan is, that's more of a sinking fastball than the riding fastball, and Liriano does a good job of laying off of it.
Petrale and Buechele both in for words with Ryan. Bobby Valentine looking on. There has not been any activity in the Rangers bullpen, but Bobby's coming out of the dugout and just said something to pitching coach Tom House. So we're going to have activity in the bullpen, and Bobby's going to do what Cito did, and that's go out there and take as much time as he can.
I don't think there's any doubt that Nolan will go at least one more hitter, but I think Bobby wants to have someone up in case Nolan says he's tired, or in case the next hitter does something to get Nolan deeper into trouble.
So Jeffcoat up and throwing now.
Your attention, please. Bill Hilbig.
One thing I mentioned earlier is that Nolan Ryan uses the lower part of his body. Look at his right leg. Now watch how he drives off the right. Now the lower part of his body takes all the strain. So he doesn't put strain on his arm right there. You see a lot of guys who pitch with the upper part of their body, and they end up with sore arms most of their career. Nolan Ryan, because he used his leg so well, has very seldom had a sore arm.
But he was sore right there.
Right.
In another way. Junior Felix the hitter, and he gets a fastball and fouls it out of play for strike 1. Felix struck out swinging his first time up in the 3rd inning.
I think when Nolan Ryan goes over an opposing lineup, he looks down the lineup and he figures out in his own mind which guys can hit his best fastball. And in each lineup, there's usually only 1 or 2 guys. And I think he feels like Freddie McGriff and Nelson Liriano are the guys that can handle his fastball.
What a beauty right there. 0-2.
And those 2 guys are the guys that he's pitched most careful to tonight. We're going to look at the Nolan Ryan breaking ball. Good curveball on the outside corner as well. Breaks sharply, but stays on the outside corner.
Gino Petrale with a good job of framing it to help get the call. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 on with 2 out. Breaking ball in the dirt, and another good job by Petrale. 1-2.
One of the things that happens when you get tired is you lose a little bit off your fastball, but you also lose something off of your curveball because the speed is not quite the same, and therefore the tightness of the curveball loses a little bit of it. It breaks a little, it rolls more than it breaks. When he was early in the ballgame, when you have a good fastball, the curveball will come right off the table. As you get a little more tired as the game goes along, it starts to roll a little bit.
Another one in the dirt, blocked by Gino.
And even though those look like they're breaking sharply, they're actually rolling a little more, and that's also, they're breaking sharply because they're low. Petrale does a good job of keeping the ball in front of him. You can see he bounces, but he keeps his whole body in front, takes it off the chest protector as you're supposed to. But he doesn't have the sharp curveball that he had in the 1st inning.
This one gets off Petrale's catcher's mitt, and the runners will advance as Myers goes to 3rd and Liriano to 2nd. And it probably will be scored a passed ball since it appeared to be catchable.
Nolan gets a lot of movement on this pitch. See the ball really tail back, and Petrali can't catch up with it. It starts toward the middle of the plate and really tails to the outside. And you could see it just hit the top of his glove.
It is scored a pass ball. And the count is 3-2 with 2 out and runners at second and third. Curveball gets him. Ryan walks 3 in the inning, but gets out of it without giving up a run. It's still 3-0. Nolan Ryan still around, Joe, and that would lead us to believe he will be out there next inning.
Yeah, if he was going to call it an evening, he would already be gone in to get some ice on his elbow and on his arm. So I think you're going to see Nolan Ryan at least start the 6th inning.
Right now, it's the bottom of the 5th with Texas leading 3-0, and Ruben Sierra to lead it off for Texas. Sierra tonight 0 for 2 has grounded to second and flied to shallow center. Strike 1.
You know, with Nolan Ryan remaining around is a big decision, but I think because of the shortness of spring training, I think this year the managers are going to be confronted with more decisions early than they've ever had to before, and those decisions that they make here the first week of the season, they're going to pay for them in October down the stretch. So I think that they're going to be, you know, these are going to be troubled times for managers, and the ones that make the right decisions are the ones that are going to win, because they're going to pay for it in the end.
Sierra, who looked so bad on the previous pitch, even had a similar swing on that ball, but it was up in the strike zone, and he laces it to left field for a base hit.
Second baseman, Julio.
First hit off David Wells, and the 6th hit of the ball game for Texas. And here's Julio Franco, who's 1 for 2. He flied to shallow left and singled to left in the 3rd, and then stole second.
I think the manager that does not panic and try to win all the ball games in April, you know, and just take it easy and realize that it's late, but it's early. It's late in spring training, but it's early in the season, and make the proper decisions, will be the one that will win the pennant. I think because the decisions, like I said, they make now will have long-range effects over the course of a year.
That's true, and I think that it's been proven that the managers who do have more consistent success take that 162 game approach, even when there isn't something as we had this spring.
And that's what you have to do. It is 162 games to win the pennant, not the first 30 in April or the second 30 in May.
1 ball, 1 strike. David Wells working in relief of Todd Stottlemyre, who started. He chases Sierra back. Stottlemyre went 3 2/3, gave up 3 runs on 5 hits, struck out 2, and walked 4. He hit a batter and allowed a home run, and leaves the game, of course, as the losing pitcher of record at this point. 1-1 to Franco. 2-1. Taking a lot of time. Checked out Dave Oliver's signs, but hung around even after that. Now he steps out again. Ruben Sierra at first. Nobody out here in the 5th inning. Fastball skied to right center field. Mookie Wilson over and calling. 1 away. Ruben Sierra back to first, and we'll go back to the Baseball Tonight studio and John Saunders.
Well, Steve and Joe, the Angels did lead the Mariners 2-0. It was tied 2-2 in the fifth. Bly 11 to Ken Griffey Jr. with 2 men aboard. A 3-run shot as Giles and Reynolds score as well to make it 5-2 Mariners. They've just now moved to the 6th, back to Texas.
Well, Bert might be home by 11. As the boomer Chris Berman would say, Bert be home by 11.
Yeah. Well, Ken Griffey Jr., I would say chip off the old block, but I don't know if his old man could hit one that far.
If you're listening, Kitty, that was Joe who said that. Tight to Petrelli. Ball 1. Gino 0 for 1 plus a walk. Petrelli originally was a switch hitter, but he just couldn't hit from the right side of the plate. Of course, he's a natural right-hander. Hit better left-handed, so he stuck with left-handed hitting. Gave up switch hitting. Sierra with a short lead, and he draws another throw. Amazes me how many pitchers seem to get overly concerned with the base runner, and usually, well, non-critical situations, shall we say.
Yes, and I think most of them couldn't stop you from stealing a base if they wanted to. The guy makes up his mind he's going to go. There's nothing they can do.
A reminder that primetime baseball will be here all week, and on Sunday night baseball premieres here on ESPN. Joe will be with John Miller at the Big O in Montreal, where the Mets and the Expos will get it on at 8 o'clock Eastern time this coming Sunday night.
I'm looking forward to being in Olympic Stadium since they put the roof on. I haven't seen it completely enclosed.
You'll like it a lot better. Pitch out. But that time, Wells negated the pitch out. He had such a funky move that he actually had Sierra going back to first.
Well, what happens a lot of times is a pitcher rushes his motion, and in doing so, it freezes the runner at first base or causes him to break back. So really, he doesn't follow through on the pitch out. On a pitch out, a pitcher should come to his regular stretch, make his regular delivery, and just speed it up just a little bit so the runner can't tell.
This ball hit high in the air to left field. George Bell circling it. The wind, of course, playing tricks with that one, but Bell pulls it in for out number 2, and Sierra remains at first.
During the conversation I had with both
Left fielder,
Cito Gaston and Buck
Coble.
Rogers, who manages Montreal Expos, they both found it a problem that they could not get free agents to come and play in Canada. Most of the free agents wanted to go west, and if you look back on the signings this year, you'll find that a lot of the big name free agents did go to the West Coast or west of where they were before, and that's one of the problems that they foresee in the future as far as getting free agents or helping their ball clubs. They feel like that they're at a disadvantage as far as that's concerned.
And I think that's true. Montreal more so than Toronto.
Yes.
Because of the French-speaking influence and everything else.
Well, and Toronto has a history of winning, and a lot of guys want to play on winners, whereas Montreal hasn't won since 1981, and then they lost in the playoffs to the Dodgers that year. But winning has an effect as well as where it's located.
It can be difficult for families. I mean, Canada is a beautiful place and a wonderful country, but it's different than the United States.
But I think baseball, truthfully, owes both Toronto and Montreal an answer. They need a solution for that particular problem, whether it's to ban no trade contracts or whatever it is. I think they have to be protected, because otherwise the free agency market is not open to those two ball clubs.
And that obviously has hurt them and makes
Yes.
it difficult for them to make deals. Toronto, I mean, has been great for baseball. Look at the new stadium. Look at the fan support they've had there.
That's why baseball owes them something. A solution, I should say.
Yeah, and yet, as you say, there are still players who put in their contracts, I'll go to this place and this place, but I won't go to Toronto and I won't go to Montreal.
Exactly. And I think especially with a team like Toronto, who maybe if they could have gotten one of the major pitchers or one of the major hitters, they would have been over the hump. So I think it's unfair, but it's the way of life in the major league.
Sierra with a stolen base. Ruben got a good jump, and he's in there ahead of the throw by Greg Myers. It is the 4th stolen base in 5 attempts for the Rangers tonight.
Well, with a left-hander, if you get a good jump, it's going to be almost impossible for the catcher to throw you out. And he had a good jump, and Sierra's in there. He stole 8 out of 10 last year, so he's always had a good percentage. It just doesn't take a lot of risk and take off very many times.
And the count to Pete Incaviglia now is 3-2 with 2 out, and now Sierra in scoring position. Incaviglia 1 for 2. David Wells comes back to strike him out and end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left here in the 5th, but the Rangers still lead the Blue Jays 3-0.
Back to Arlington in a moment. Let's check the National League scoreboard now. The game's over this afternoon. We gave you those. Philadelphia and Chicago now postponed. They'll make it up Thursday afternoon at Wrigley. The Reds and the Astros tied at 4. Mariano Duncan has 3 RBIs in that game. Back to Steve and Joe now in Arlington, Texas.
Your attention, please.
Thanks, John.
For the Rangers.
This is for you, John. You hung the moon today, pal. John's been there in the studio with the Baseball Tonight crew all day and all night, bringing you up to date here on opening day. What a shot of a full moon over Arlington tonight. And what a job by John Saunders and the guys. And Nolan Ryan is, in fact, out of the game. And Mike Jeffcoat is in there, 9-6 last year. So Ryan goes 5 and leaves without giving up a hit, leading 3-0.
But he can get the win if the Rangers are able to hold on to the lead.
And you know, I'm glad they changed that rule back and made it 5 innings, because that would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
If it had that 3-inning rule.
The one thing you can't do is mess with the traditions of baseball, and that's what that would have done.
Fernandez with a swing and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's Bobby.
And those are the decisions we were talking about earlier that a manager has to make early or suffer the consequences later on. And I'm sure it was not an easy decision for Bobby Valentine nor Nolan Ryan to decide to take him out. But chances are, because he was tired, because he was starting to struggle, that he would not have been able to pitch the no-hitter anyway. But you never know, and we will not know. We'll not be able to find out. But I personally think that once you set a limit, you say I'm going to pitch 5 innings or whatever the pitches are, you have to stick with it no matter what. You can't change.
Outside to Tony Fernandez, and the count now 2 balls and 2 strikes as Fernandez leads off against Mike Jeffcoat.
I've seen a lot of times when a pitcher was pitching a no-hitter and he'd be losing 1-0, and the manager has to pinch hit for him in the 8th inning. And those are decisions that have to be made.
And now it's 3-2. No, that's what managers are paid for, really. I mean, the decisions are theirs. And as you say with Ryan, it's done in consultation. And later in the season, Bobby will just say, what do you think? And Ryan will say yes or no, and that'll be it. Still 3-2 to Tony Fernandez, leading off the 6th inning. It'll be Mookie Wilson and Kelly Gruber to follow. Ground ball to second. Julio Franco charges and gets him. Good play. Before the game, we talked with Bobby Valentine about his relationship with Nolan Ryan.
Center
Find it
fielder,
hard
Mookie
not to be a
Wilson.
fan when he's pitching, because I am a fan of baseball and a true Nolan Ryan fan. You get caught up in the action, but as a manager, there's that day and that time during the day when you decide, is it enough or should I give him one more hitter? And with him, that's a very difficult task.
And that we talked about that during that conversation, and he was talking about moments just like this.
Well, you do what you have to do.
Right.
And then, you know, what you do into the manager, as Mookie Wilson stands in, is you make the decision and then you don't look back. You can't.
Exactly. You don't look back.
It'll eat you up. Mookie is grounded out twice.
I think what happens is when you follow Nolan Ryan and you're a right-hander, sometimes it gives you an advantage, but I don't think a left-hander gets an advantage to following Nolan Ryan, because now that most of the right-handed hitters on the Blue Jays will feel like they're free swinging again.
Wilson grounds to short. So Mookie has been spreading it around. The third, back to pitcher, and now to the shortstop. And there are 2 out here in the 6th inning.
Third baseman Kelly Gruber.
Kelly Gruber 0 for 2. He fouled out to the third baseman Buechele, and then Buechele took a base hit away from him to return the favor in the 4th inning after Gruber had robbed Buechele of a base hit back in the 2nd. Those are the 2 defensive plays of the game so far. A drive into right center for a base hit. This one might make it all the way to the wall. And Gruber will be held up at second with 2 out and Toronto trailing by 3. So a 2-out double here in the 6th inning, the first hit for the Toronto Blue Jays.
As I mentioned, I don't think Jeff Coble has an advantage following Nolan Ryan, but he throws a high fastball to Kelly Gruber and he lines it in the right center field. To hit left-handers well, you have to go the other way a little bit because their ball tails away from you, as this one does, and Gruber just shoots it up the gap in the right center field. Most of your right-handed hitters who have good average against left-handed pitching will be guys that can take the ball from right center to left center.
Gruber certainly did that. So George Bell has a runner in scoring position with 2 out. Bell has struck out and grounded to third. A fastball right in there for strike 1. Last year, George hit .337 with men in scoring position. Mike Jeffcoat in relief of Nolan Ryan, who went 5 without giving up a hit or a run, striking out 4 and walking 4. Down low, 1 and 2.
A good pitch by Jeffcoat because you could see he had George Bell completely tied up. Bell had really kind of jumped at the pitch.
Bobby Valentine just popped right out of the dugout as soon as that pitch was in Petralli's mitt. Gary Milkey throwing in the bullpen now for the Rangers.
I don't think he's getting ready for Freddie McGriff. If Wells doesn't get, I'm sorry, if Jeffcoat doesn't get Bell out, he will still let him face Freddie McGriff, I'm sure.
One ball, 2 strikes. 2 and 2, and it bounces away from Petralli. Gruber will go to third, and we'll see how they score it as the count goes to 2 and 2.
Well, it's an obvious wild pitch because it's one of those 60-foot breaking balls. And Petralli tries to block it.
Crawled right up his arm.
Yeah, and just bounces away from him. He actually didn't shift over as he had been doing with Nolan Ryan, though.
It is scored a wild pitch, putting Gruber at third with 2 out. Gruber with a right center field 2-out double. breaking ball and popping it into foul territory. And caught by Palmeiro right at the tarp for out number 3. So a double and 1 left in the 6th for Toronto. They still have not scored and trail 3-0. In a baseball tradition started by William Howard Taft in 1910, each president since that time has thrown out the first ball at a season opener. From Herbert Hoover to Calvin Coolidge to Franklin Roosevelt. Whatever the political party or state of world affairs, a presidential first pitch has been delivered. Last year, former Yale University first baseman George Bush threw out the first pitch at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. The presidential first pitch, a baseball and American tradition. And in keeping with that tradition, the son of the president, who is the general partner of the Texas Rangers, is here, although he did not throw out the first pitch, Joe.
We've known each other for about 25 years, George Jr. and myself. And we've talked often of us getting together, running a baseball team together. Now he has one.
Did he call you?
Yeah, no, he didn't talk to me.
Frank Wills is the new pitcher for Toronto as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Steve Buechele, the hitter. Texas leading Toronto 3-0. Buechele 0 for 2, reached on a fielder's choice and struck out. On the count 0-2. Frank 3-1 last season. Breaking ball lofted to deep center. The wind holds it up as Mookie Wilson hands 1 away.
I think the wind is starting to swirl more now. Before the flags were kind of going out to left field. Now it looks like they're swirling. As you can see, the ones down the right field line blowing one way, and the ones straight away center field are blowing another way. So I think it's more of a swirling wind now.
Which makes it all the more unpredictable out there in the field.
Yes.
Jeff Kunkel is 0 for 1 plus a walk. He walked in the 2nd and struck out swinging in the 4th. Fouled on. 1-1.
When you take a look at the American League East and you compare that to the American League West, you realize that the West is the stronger division. And with the East this year, there were not a lot of moves made by the top contenders. Therefore, I think Toronto should be the favorite just because they'll have Gaston for the whole year, and they still have a young ball club that's going to mature a little bit more, and they won last year. But I think the Baltimore Orioles are for real. I think anytime you put 9 guys out there to play hard, know how to play, and play team baseball, you have a shot. And they've added Big Sam Horn now, so I think they're that much stronger.
Kunkel goes down swinging for the 2nd time, and let's go to our Baseball Tonight studios again and John Saunders.
Well, guys, the Expos were down to the Cardinals 3-0, but here Delino DeShields with a little squibber. Todd Zeile, the rookie, up. He has the throw to first. Guerrero can't get the handle. They say DeShields was in the path. Otis Nixon scores. It's now a 5-3 game. The Expos lead the Cards. Back to Arlington.
Thanks, John. 3-0 here with 2 out and nobody on in the 6th inning as Gary Pettis stands in and takes strike 1. Pettis tonight has doubled, flying to left and been hit by a pitch and stolen a base. And it's strike 2. Frank Wills is the 3rd pitcher for Toronto tonight. Todd Stottlemyre, Mel's son, started, went 3 2/3. David Wells pitched well, pitched 1 2/3, giving up 1 hit. And now Wills and the 6th, 1 2 to Pettis. On the ground to second, Nelson Liriano up with it over to Fred McGriff, and the inning is over. Frank Wills retires Toronto in order, or Texas rather, in order. And at the end of 6, it's still the Rangers leading 3-0. 3-0 Texas as we go to the 7th inning. Steve Zabriskie and Joe Morgan with you here in Arlington, Texas. And Joe, that lineup that Toronto thinks, and a lot of people think is strong, has been throttled tonight.
Well, Nolan Ryan does that to a lot of hitters, and so I think that's what has happened more or less than the Toronto Blue Jays not swinging the bats well. They ran up against Nolan Ryan.
McGriff with a tapper, and he's thrown out for out number 1 here in the 7th inning.
Nice play. As you see, Buechele cut over in front
Designated hitter
of
John
Coble and throws
Olerud.
McGriff out. Olerud will be the hitter.
Olerud 0 for 2. Struck out and lined to right.
It was interesting. I went in and asked Olerud yesterday how to pronounce his name because I wanted to be correct on the air. He said, Joe, any way you pronounce it's okay. He said, my grandmother pronounced it Olerud. He said, my father pronounced it Olerud. So either way is going to be all right. But he prefers Olerud.
And that's the way the Major League Baseball has him listed as well. Even though he's without a hit tonight, when you have somebody who knows as much about hitting and how to teach it as Cito Gaston singing a guy's praises, who's had 8 Major League at-bats, now 10, you know he's got to have some talent.
I think it's kind of interesting is that Cito Gaston, while he was the hitting instructor for the Blue Jays, he had a guy lead the league in home runs, Fred McGriff, and he had an MVP in George Bell. So I think that kind of speaks for itself on what type of hitter and instructor he really is.
2-2, and the breaking ball inside. Full count with 1 out and nobody on. Arlington Stadium in Arlington, Texas, home of the Texas Rangers, with close to 41,000 in attendance tonight. Held down a little bit, I'm sure, by the threat of rain. And Joe, we've been blessed because there hasn't been any to speak of since the game started. Tapped up the middle. Kunkel right there. And an easy out number 2. So Jeffcoat has given up the double to Gruber with 2 out
The
in the 6th,
catcher,
and that's
Greg
been it.
Myers.
He has retired 5 of the 6 he has faced. And the batter will be catcher Greg Myers, who is 0 for 1 plus a walk. Myers lined to short, and Kunkel went up high to Spirit to end the 2nd inning. Fly ball to short left field. Incaviglia, a long way to come, and he gets there. Good hustle by Pete. Blue Jays go in order in the 7th. Still 3-0.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. And by Michelob Dry. Bold taste with no aftertaste. Mick Dry refreshes completely.
Bottom of the 7th inning, Texas leading 3-0. Toronto has managed only 1 hit against Nolan Ryan, who allowed none, and Mike Jeffcoat, who allowed the 1 in 2 innings of relief work. And Rafael Palmeiro will lead it off here in the 7th for the Rangers. He has tripled and scored, and has also walked twice and scored twice. Fouled off at home plate for strike 1. Hey, who are those guys anyway?
Yeah, who are those guys?
That's kind of nice. Well, the picture wasn't too hot, but it was nice of them to put it up there. You look good, though, Joe. Palmeiro had 8 home runs last year, as you see, and 3 of those were in April. He had a fine April, hitting .313. And then tailed off. He had only 5 homers the rest of the season and wound up hitting .275. Two balls, 1 strike.
That's quite a drop. April and May is fighting for the league batting title, and even through September he did not play very well, did not hit very well.
Outside, 3-1.
And that's kind of surprising because he came from the Chicago Cubs in the National League.
Drives this one to left field. George Bell back on the track, watching it go out of here. A home run.
And I don't think there's any doubt the wind is blowing out to left field right now. Because that ball seemed like it got up in a jet stream and just shot out of here. I was saying that because he came from the other league, it might take him a while to adjust to the American League, but it was just the opposite. He got off to a good start and then slowed down the last couple of months of the season. It's a fastball. You see the target inside, but the pitch is away. And Palmeiro, being a good hitter, will go the other way.
Harold Baines fouling it back and out of play. Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. That ball got a lot of help because that was going to be a deep fly ball to the opposite field, and
yes,
the wind just pushed it right on out of here.
Maybe that's why he hit 3 in April last year. The winds were blowing that way. And maybe this is one of those ballparks where it changes. You know, Candlestick Park in San Francisco, early in the season, you can't drive a ball out of there to left field sometimes, and then after a couple of months, the wind changes, and it seems to help balls hit the left field on occasion.
The wind has really picked up as Harold Baines, who hit a 2-run home run and drove in another run with a ground out, is in there, fouling off yet another pitch, and it's still 0-2. Baines is officially 1 for 3, and he's facing Frank Wills for the first time. Wills working his second inning of relief. He's the third Toronto pitcher of the evening after Todd Stottlemyre started.
Good pitch.
And he gets Baines.
He took a little off of the slider. It was a breaking ball, but the speed is what fooled Baines, not the break. We'll get a look at it. One of the things that happens with a curveball, sometimes the break fools you, other times the speed. You can see he is way out in front. So it was really the speed that fooled him and not the break.
So here's Ruben Sierra, 1 for 3. He is grounded out, flying to shallow center, and singled to left. Ruben stole a base in the 5th inning after his base hit. Breaking ball fouled off for strike 1.
And you can see Ruben with the high leg lift. It seems like it would be very tough for him to wait on the breaking ball. And since he doesn't try to pull it all the time, he doesn't have as many problems as another person might have if they had that high leg kick. A la Roger Hornsby. Top 4 batters in the Rangers order going for the cycle.
They have been tough tonight. Sierra chases one out of the strike zone, though, and it's 1-2.
Watch how high Sierra kicks his front leg right there. Now it looks like you'd lose your balance, but he stays pretty well on balance. But you can see he does have trouble with that changeup right there.
Tough to get on top of a pitch that high, regardless of whether it's a fastball or
or
not.
changeup. I haven't seen that much of Sierra as a hitter. Only time I see him is late night on ESPN last year when he was driving the ball out of the ballpark or hitting some balls in the gaps on SportsCenter. So I didn't really see that much of him making any outs. It seemed like he was hitting everything every night that I saw him.
2-2 pitch, strike 3 called, and Sierra can't believe it. He thought it was outside. Second consecutive strikeout for Wills, and the third that he has recorded. 2 gone here in the 7th.
He's thrown him a couple of off-speed pitches, and he comes back with a fastball here. And you can see it really tails. Well, the catcher tried to bring it back, which leads you to believe that maybe it was out of the strike zone. Watch the catcher's glove. Watch him pull it back. See, he frames it. Anytime they frame it like that, it means that they're trying to get a call from the umpire, and in this case, he did.
Big cut by Julio Franco. Strike 1. Franco 1 for 3 with a single to left back in the 3rd. Rafael Palmeiro led off the 7th inning with a solo home run. Baines and Sierra have been struck out by Wills. And this one, a sharp one-hopper. Fernandez backs up to get the hop and throws him out. And the inning is over. But the home run by Palmeiro makes it 4-0. Texas after 7.
Back to the Rangers and the Blue Jays in a moment, but let's check the National League scoreboard now. These games this afternoon, the ones that are final, the Phillies and the Cubs postponed. They'll make it up on Thursday. Reds and the Astros in the top of the 9th still tied. And the Expos were down 3-0, but are on top 5-3 in the top of the 8th. Back to Texas.
Thanks, John. Here it's 4-0. Texas over Toronto as we go to the 8th inning. Nelson Liriano to lead it off for the Blue Jays. As Mike Jeffcoat works in relief of Nolan Ryan, Liriano has grounded to short and walked.
And I like what Liriano is doing here. He bluffed a bunt on the first pitch. The Blue Jays before this time at bat have gone down pretty timidly. You know, they have not tried to change anything. You have to try to change something if they're getting you out.
Grounds this one up the middle, and it's off Mike Jeffcoat, and it goes an infield base hit for Nelson Liriano. Liriano changed up something, and Jeffcoat changed the direction of the ball.
Well, I think you have to try something if your team is going quietly, as the Blue Jays are. And he's leading off the 8th inning. He ends up hitting the ball off the Jeffcoat's leg, but he bluffed a bunt, and then he took a strike.
Only the second hit that Toronto has managed. The other one a double by Gruber in the 6th against Jeffcoat. And here's Junior Felix, who is 0 for 2. He has struck out swinging both times. Both of those were against Nolan Ryan. He was the last hitter that Ryan faced, ending the 5th inning.
And both of those at bats were from the left side, as well as Liriano.
One ball, no strikes. Liriano at first with nobody out. And the breaking ball dropped right in there, 1-1.
For a left-hander to be successful against the right-handed hitters, he has to have control of his breaking ball or be able to tail the fastball over the outside part of the plate. You need one of those two pitches to keep the right-handed hitter honest.
Fouled on. Felix did not have a lot of success last year against left-handers. Batting from the right side, he hit just .202 versus .283 from the other side.
I think part of his problem was he hurt his left shoulder diving into home plate, and that was also one of the reasons that his average tailed off after such a hot start with the Blue Jays. And it bothered him to hit right-handed. So I think that's one of the reasons that you'll see him do better this year from the right side than he did last year.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Foul back, and the count stays at 1-2. Well, tomorrow night, baseball continues here on ESPN. The Yankees will be at Cleveland, or some of you will see Texas and Toronto. And the second half of the doubleheader will be Minnesota at Oakland, Joe Morgan's hometown.
I
Or
want to try to catch that game.
Seattle will be
Minnesota at
as
Oakland.
well. Baseball tonight, tomorrow night here on ESPN. Ground ball foul outside third. So we're off to a blazing start on the opening of the season, even though it is delayed. A triple header today and a double header for you tomorrow night.
And we've had good ball games all afternoon with Baltimore and Kansas City and the Dodgers and the Padres, and now here tonight with the Rangers and the Blue Jays. All very good ball games to open the season.
Still 1-2 to Junior Felix with Liriano at first and nobody out. And another foul ball. The pride of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Mike Jeffcoat.
Is that anywhere near Fayetteville or
everything in Arkansas is near something else. Strike 3 called. After fouling off all the pitches, Jeffcoat gets him with an inside fastball and picks up his first strikeout.
It's a good job of pitching. He threw him a lot of breaking balls and fastballs away. Now he comes inside with a fastball, and Felix is looking out over the plate. See the catcher set up inside, fastball in, and you can see Felix wasn't expecting that. And there you see Jeffcoat, and he says, "Yeah, I got you."
I like it. Tony Fernandez, the hitter, the top of the order now for the Blue Jays. Fernandez 0 for 3 with a fly out and a couple of ground outs. Inside, ball 1.
The Rangers have contained the Blue Jays throughout the game, but the Blue Jays have such an explosive ball club. 1 or 2 mistakes and we could have a tie ball game. So the Blue Jays are never out of a contest. I know it seems like a cliche, but these guys can put some numbers on the board.
They can, and they do.
Yes.
And Jeffcoat or somebody has got to go through the middle of the order one more time.
One more time. And in the middle is Gruber, Bell, and McGriff.
Strike call. 2 balls, 1 strike to Fernandez with Liriano at first and 1 out. We're in the 8th inning with Texas leading Toronto 4-0. On the outside corner, 2-2. Jeffcoat started the year at Oklahoma City last year and was 4-4, and then 9-6 with the Rangers. Fouled off outside third, still 2-2. Souvenir time on opening day. What could be better? Those people will ruin expensive clothing for a baseball.
Yes, they will. I've seen guys ruin $200 or $300, $400 suits trying to get a baseball.
Go buy one for $375. Just outside, and the count is full now.
Well, the ones you buy do not have Bobby Brown's signature on them.
And they don't have that official home stadium dirt.
Yeah.
You know, they've been in the dirt. Somebody once hit them. High and away, ball 4. That is the first walk issued by Jeffcoat. It puts runners at first and second with 1 out.
Center fielder Mookie Wilson.
There's Bobby Valentine.
And Bobby at Valentine pops right out of there. He has Kenny Rogers in the bullpen. And Welke, who was warming earlier, obviously is also ready. Welke the right-hander and Rogers the left-hander.
Well, it doesn't really matter which one he brings in if he does, and he decides to stay with Jeffcoat because Mookie Wilson is a switch hitter. And so he would just move over to the other side if he brought a left-hander in.
I think part of the reason for the meeting, too, is how are we going to play it in the infield with a double play situation, 1 out. And a guy like Mookie, who's hard to double up, even though he's batting from the right side now.
And Mookie has a way of keeping a rally going. Mookie has a tendency to get a few base hits in these types of situations. So we'll see what happens here. The Blue Jays need a base hit very badly here.
Mookie has grounded out all 3 at bats. Drives this one out of play foul for strike 1. Last year, Mookie did not ground into a double play in 33 opportunities. in the dirt, and a good play by Gino Petrelli.
Well, if you didn't put the jinx on him, he may not ground into one in this situation.
You believe in that stuff?
It seems to happen that way. Whether you believe it or not, I don't believe in a lot of percentages in baseball, but they seem to come up that way a lot of times.
You know, but my feeling is a guy's going to do what a guy's going to do regardless of what we say. He can't even hear us. Grounded off, foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Wilson. William Hayward Wilson, his grandmother named him Mookie. And nobody's ever been able to figure out what that means.
Well, in the case of Cito Gaston, he says Cito would sound better than Clarence.
Yeah, Cito's nickname is interesting, and when we get a chance to give you a shot at Cito, we'll tell you how he got the nickname Cito.
I'm not sure Mookie is better than William.
Liriano, the runner at second base, and Tony Fernandez at first. 1 out here in the 8th inning. Toronto trailing by 4. Trying to get something going. Nolan Ryan no hit them for his 5 innings of work. Mookie nubs another one foul, and the count remains 2-2. Cito's given name is Clarence Edwin Gaston. And a friend of his in San Antonio, who happens to be a San Antonio police officer, told him he saw a wrestler, a professional wrestler, on TV and who would come around on the circuit and everything, whose name was Cito. And he really liked that name. So he suggested to Clarence to start calling Clarence Cito. Said, I liked it a lot better. And Cito says, I liked it a lot better than Clarence, so I just took it. Driven down the right field line out of play. Mookie fouling off the tough ones, trying to get something he can handle.
I think Cito is a very interesting name. I played against Cito when he was a hitter. You know, he played for the San Diego Padres for a long period of time. He had his best years there. Cito once hit 29 home runs for the Padres, hit over 300. So very good hitting instructor, and he knows how to use the bat.
Another 2-2 pitch to Wilson. Fastball driven to left center field. Incaviglia and Pettis on the run. Incaviglia gets there. Tagging up at second is Liriano, who goes to third, now with 2 out.
I tell you what, Incaviglia decides that he wants to be a Gold Glove outfielder. Maybe Gary Pettis is hurt out there. It's taking a little while to get up. He was trying to avoid running into Incaviglia. But again, I still think that Gary Pettis will make this play as the season goes along, because he's in charge out there and he is the better of the 2 outfielders, and he could have made the catch. We get a chance to look at Liriano going back to tag up. He felt like either Pettis or Incaviglia would make the catch, so he tagged up and went in to third base, and we're going to have another pitching cane.
It might have been harder for him to tag up and go if Pettis had made the throw or the catch, because he would have been moving toward third base. Well, Jeff Russell,
The stopper.
the main man out of the Rangers bullpen, is in with Texas leading 4-0. Runners at first and third with 2 out here in the 8th inning. It is Jeff Russell who is into the game, becoming the 3rd pitcher of the night for Texas. Check out that ERA last year. Kelly Gruber, the hitter, fouls it back for strike 1.
Russell, former Cincinnati farmhand and Cincinnati Reds pitcher, basically a fastball pitcher.
Gruber tonight with a double in 3 at-bats. Foul out of play. Strike 2. Nelson Liriano, the runner at third. Tony Fernandez, the runner at first. 2 out. We're in the 8th inning. Texas leads Toronto 4-0.
Only 45 hits in 72 2/3 innings.
Driven foul and a little skip of the rope down there by Liriano. Gruber likes to hit against Russell. Now, he's only had 9 at-bats career against Russell, but he is 3 for 9, and one of those 3 was a home run.
Well, that tells you that he's a good fastball hitter. And anytime you can get out in front of an 0-2 fastball like that means you're a pretty good fastball hitter.
He hit this one hard. Look at Liriano. Look out. Even John McLaren was jumping.
That's why you take your lead in foul territory, though, in case you can't get out of the way. Still a foul ball.
If you hit in fair territory, you are out. Breaking ball fouled off.
Now, they decided that Gruber was not fooled by the fastball.
Coming up next, right after our game, the third of our triple header, Bob Lee and Dan Patrick will be along with Sports Center for you. More baseball with opening day highlights, of course, the NHL playoff, and a story on Tommy Kramer being released by the Minnesota Vikings. Sports Center next. A drive into right center field for a base hit. Liriano will score. Fernandez going to third. He's being sent home. Here comes the relay. The throw goes to third to get Gruber. Gruber's out, but the run scores in time. Gruber drives in 2, even though he's thrown out trying to go to third. And the 8th inning ends with the score 4-2.
Well, it's a big mistake by Kelly Gruber. He should have stayed at second base. And there you see Fernandez coming in to score. And Gruber is going over to third base. The ball did not get all the way through, so he should have known he couldn't go to third. But you do not get thrown out. You never make the last out or the first out at third base. 4-2.
Gino Petrale leads it off in the 8th inning for Texas, now leading 4-2. Facing Frank Wills with Pete Incaviglia and Steve Buechele to follow. Petrale hits it on the ground to second. Liriano to McGriff, 1 away here in the 8th inning.
A big mistake by Kelly Gruber into the inning as you see Franco take the relay from Sierra in right field, active with the center fielder Pettis, and he throws the ball over, and Buechele tags him out by a long way. And you can see that there's no way when you're down by 2 runs you should be trying to go to third base in that situation, especially when you have guys like George Bell and Freddie McGriff following you in the order.
Jim Acker into the game now, becoming the 4th pitcher of the night for Toronto. Down low, ball 1. Pete Incaviglia tonight 1 for 3. He had a base hit to center field back in the 2nd. Since then he's flied to center and struck out. Bounced foul inside third. 1-1.
In the first inning, Incaviglia took a fastball and lined it back up the middle for a base hit. Since that time, it looks like he has dead aim on the left center field bleachers. He does not look like he's trying to hit another single in tonight's ball game. He's opening up and he's swinging a little too hard, I think.
I figured, you know, driving one the other way once is enough, but that's not really true.
No, I think you have to prove to him that you will hit the ball back to the middle and the other way before they're going to come inside.
You do a lot of things too to the defense when you do that. You change the book on yourself too when you adjust.
That was the 3rd worst on base average last year, meaning he did not take very many walks and he did not get very many base hits.
But he takes high and tight.
But he is a guy that's so strong, and if he makes adjustments, he can become a great hitter. I saw him play at college at Oklahoma State, and I tell you, he can swing the bat.
High and tight again, ball 4. So Incaviglia walks with 1 out here in the 8th. A reminder that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Jim Acker, late of the Atlanta Braves, now facing Steve Buechele with Incaviglia at first and 1 out. Buechele tonight 0 for 3 with a fielder's choice, a strikeout, and a fly ball to center. Texas leading 4-2 on the high fastball for ball 1.
And one thing Acker cannot do is pitch up in the strike zone. He needs to get the ball down.
Too far down, ball 2. And time called by Greg Myers, who trots out. Again, a reminder that SportsCenter follows the game here on ESPN. Mr. Lee and Mr. Patrick will give you all the news that's fit to be said, or something like that. 2-0. Too tight. 3-0. Todd Stottlemyre started the game for Toronto, went 3 2/3. David Wells pitched an inning in the 3rd. Frank Wills 2 innings, and now Jim Acker here in the 8th. Too high, ball 4. So 4 straight pitches out of the strike zone and 2 consecutive walks after 1 are out here in the 8th inning.
Well, the Blue Jays cannot afford to give up any more runs. They've got a tough task ahead of them as it is, going into the 9th inning, trailing by 2 at least. You see Galen Cisco, the pitching coach, coming out to talk to Jim. But they cannot afford to give up any more runs to the Texas Rangers.
Jack Doherty is out on deck for Texas as a pinch hitter.
Attention, please, for the Rangers.
And apparently will pinch hit for Jeff Kunkel.
Doherty. Pinch hitting for Jack Kunkel. Jack Doherty. Pinch hitting for Kunkel.
So Kunkel leads the game with a walk and 2 strikeouts on the night.
And a nice play in the 2nd inning. Saved a run and also kept Nolan Ryan's no-hitter alive.
That's right. Noli with no hits through 5 before leaving the game. Doherty, a left-handed hitting first baseman primarily. As you see, hit 302 last year. Ground ball. There it is. Tony Fernandez could not get the ball out of his glove, and when he did, he couldn't find the handle to throw it. Or the Blue Jays would have had the double play. Incaviglia going to 3rd, and Doherty winds up safe at 1st. With Fernandez bobbling. No error will be charged because you can't presuppose a double play, and they do get the force out on Buechele at 2nd.
But Acker did his job. They just didn't turn it on the infield.
Doherty reaches on a fielder's choice. 1st and 3rd with 2 out for Gary Pettis, who is 1 for 3.
The Toronto Blue Jays have already decided what they will do in case the Rangers try a double steal here. But with Incaviglia over at 3rd, I'm not so sure they might want to try it, but you never know.
You never know. We would have never guessed that Pete would have had the first stolen base of the season for Texas, but he did.
And you can see that Tony Fernandez and Kelly Gruber were discussing it. Tony returns to his position.
Two balls, no strikes. Incaviglia, the runner at 3rd, he walked. And Doherty, the runner at 1st, he reached on a fielder's choice. 2 out. Acker has had a hard time finding the strike zone. And he gets a strike on the outside corner to make it 2 balls, 1 strike.
Because the pitchers are not going to be as consistent the first couple of weeks of the season as they will be later on, it's imperative that the infielders make all the plays behind them, or they're going to keep them out there for an extra hitter, and you never know what's going to happen.
Here's a pinch runner, Jeff Hewson, who's newly acquired from the Montreal Expos, will pinch run for Jack Doherty at first base. So Hewson gets into the game. And Pettis takes another strike on the outside corner, and the count 2-2, and Gary does not agree with Mr. Evans.
I'm trying to figure out that move of pinch running at first base. I think I would pinch run at third base if I wanted to do something, maybe try a double steal, but at first base I don't quite understand that.
Well, I don't know, unless he's just trying to get Hewson into the game, but I mean, this is not spring training anymore.
No.
So Hewson at first is a pinch runner for Doherty. Incaviglia at third. 2-2 with 2 out. And a fake throw to third and a bluff to first. And I don't know, Joe, you've been in the game longer than I have. And you ever see it work?
No, well, the real key to that is that it's unfair because the rule book says the pitcher's not supposed to do anything to deceive the runner.
The runners aren't going, and Pettis chases one and is struck out. So Acker walks 2 but pitches out of it. And after 8, Texas leading by 2 as we go
back to Arlington for the 9th in a moment, but let's check the rest of the scores today. First in the American League, Seattle and California. You see that game is now in the top of the 9th. Oakland got their first run of the season. Dave Henderson singles in Carney Lansford. They lead Minnesota 1-0. In the National League, the games that are final were played this afternoon. The Reds and the Astros have gone to extra innings now. Tied at 4, and Montreal came back from a 3-0 deficit. They lead St. Louis now in the bottom of the 9th. Back to Steve and Joe in Arlington.
Thanks, John. 9th inning baseball, and the final inning perhaps of our triple header here on opening day. 4-2 Texas leading, and Jeff Hewson remaining in the game at shortstop, replacing Jeff Kunkel, whom Doherty pinch hit for and Hewson pinch ran for. And Jeff Russell still in there after working the 8th inning to work the 9th and try to close it out for the Rangers, which is what they're paying him to do. It'll be the heart of the order and George Bell to lead it off.
And now the base running mistake by Kelly Gruber to end the 8th inning looms big and large here because George Bell and Freddie McGriff could have had a chance in the 8th inning.
George Bell with a high fly ball into short right field. Ruben Sierra right there, and quickly 1 out in the 9th. Story of this game has a lot to do with the 43-year-old right-hander Nolan Ryan. A no-hitter through 5 and leaving the game after 5, striking out 4. Palmeiro with a good night offensively, and Todd Stottlemyre struggled a little bit, as he had been known to do in April. Errol Baines with 3 RBIs. And Freddie McGriff fouls it off for strike 1. McGriff has walked twice and grounded to third.
You can tell one thing about the Toronto Blue Jays. They're free swingers. They're trailing by 2 runs. George Bell hits the first pitch to right field for a fly ball, and McGriff swings at the second one.
Whatever happened to let's take a strike?
Take 1.
Beautiful breaking ball from Russell, and it's 0-2 to McGriff.
As the saying goes, neither one of them could hit a 2-run homer to tie.
That's right.
With no one on base.
They're going up there trying to hit a 4-run homer with nobody on base. Curveball inside and low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 out, nobody on in the 9th. Toronto trailing by 2. He's hit Russell well. So far, anyway. Just outside. Did he go too far? No. Home plate umpire Jim Evans says, I don't need it to appeal to Tim Welke down at third. It's 2-2. Fastball on the outside corner. See you later. Jeff Russell with a big strikeout of Fred McGriff here in the 9th, and there are 2 gone.
No doubt in my mind that McGriff was looking for a breaking ball here because Russell just comes with the fastball, and he takes it. Good pitch by Russell.
Well, it's up to the rookie, John Olerud, to keep things going. He's 0 for 3, and he takes inside ball 1. Olerud is struck out, line to right, and grounded to short. A lot of people rooting for this guy after missing all last year with that brain aneurysm. Here's a strike, 1-1. Sports Center next. Highlights of opening day, the NHL playoffs, and the Tommy Kramer story. Breaking ball just missed. 2-1.
Russell uses his breaking ball just to try to keep the hitters off balance because his fastball is his out pitch. And he spots it, moves it in and out.
Fastball popped up, should be the ball game. Houston will get the chance out in left field, and the game is over. Nolan Ryan picks up first win of the year. Jeff Russell picks up the save, his first of the year. Todd Stottlemyre suffers the loss as the Texas Rangers beat the Toronto Blue Jays 4-2. For Joe Morgan, Steve Zabriskie saying so long. Let's go back to John Sanders in the studio. John?
Thank you, Steve and Joe. And Nolan Ryan picks up career win number 290, now just 10 shy of the 300 mark. He's already got his 5,000 strikeouts. A reminder, SportsCenter is coming your way in just a few moments' time. But first, we'll tell you we do have 2 more baseball games coming your way here. Almost said basketball. The Yankees and the Cleveland Indians. Some of you will see the Texas Rangers and the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll follow that one up. Minnesota and Oakland. The A's with a lead in that game as they play tonight. Some will see Seattle and California. SportsCenter next with Bob Lee and Dan Patrick. Baseball tonight will follow Dave Marish and Peter Gammons. We hope you have enjoyed opening day 1990.